done. I'm gonna need a dinner reservation for one. James Bond vs. John Wick, efficient and lean. A professional death battle episode.
That wasn't even close to rhyming. James Bond vs. John Wick is out. What did I think? Spoiler alert, I liked them more than Lex vs. Doom. The analysis segments are fine. Bond's was quite decent. I enjoyed it overall. It doesn't focus on stats much, which is expected, but talks a lot about his training, his arsenal, his wacky gadgets, all by adding in a ton of name drops for his 25 films. The cutaways, however, were expectedly unfunny, with two non-jokes that had the most obvious conclusion ever when the ending came along. If you did not see this joke coming from a fucking mile away, you probably weren't paying attention, which, I mean, you know, that's fair. The cutaway gags are barely worth paying attention to at the best of times. I did like the end of Bonds. It was pretty well done and worked well, or at least it would have been, but they went into feats right after, and it feels like the actual ending isn't as good. It felt like this would have been a great point to end the analysis on, but yeah, they had to go into feats. Wick's analysis is also good. It's neat to see them start the analysis the way they did, going through martial arts Keenoo Reevez did for the movie was neat. Though it's weird how they focus on how great Wick's Krav Maga is when mentioning prior that Bond had it too. It's kind of strange to me. It's very symptomatic of how difficult it must be to stretch out only 3 movies worth of story into a full analysis as long as James Bond's was. You know, because Wick would definitely have enough for an analysis normally. It's just he's got to have a long enough one to match up with James Bond. But though this was definitely done with more grace than Magneto vs. Tetsuo in terms of massive differences in content for each. Though the Bond movie title drops in the analysis did feel weird because it's just like, they felt a bit forced. It kind of made this episode feel a bit more Bond-focused than I thought, though it's not noticeable on the first viewing. But that's also nullified by the epic Fortnite drop, which was goated. I will say it's amusing to hear them say Wick is unstoppable, as if he isn't the weakest character in the entire season. I don't care what you say, he's not beating Harley Quinn with that Batman scaling under her belt. That's a bit beyond what Wick has taken. Anyway, one thing that sets this episode apart from a lot of the others is its sense of, I don't want to say world building, it isn't that deep. Country building? Yeah. A lot of the dialogue that's character focused helps create a feeling that these two really exist in the same world and haven't just been plucked out of their places into a random fight arena. Bond is on a mission to deal with John Wick, and thus goes into the Continental. We get a few lines from Q about the mission, and Bond addresses Wick as Baba Yaga, with his reputation clearly known. At the same time, I like that when Wick tells him that killing isn't allowed on company grounds, Bond's cocky attitude responds in a way that conveys the idea that his license to kill, as mentioned earlier, supersedes the high table rules. Something Wick doesn't have going for him. But we've seen Wick kill on the company grounds before, so he's willing to pull out a gun. Later, Wick outright asks what MI6 wants with him, and gives a sort of impression that Wick knows who Bond is by reputation as well. He clearly recognizes Bond and knows what company he works for. Helping to build this as a sort of world where both exist together, just in different parts of the world, and are only now actually encountering one another. Sort of like Iron Man vs. Lex Luthor, and a little like Snake vs. Sam, though in that one they don't know each other, which fits better with them being stealth operatives. Though I do have to bring up negatives as well. The visuals throughout the episode are not great. James Bond looks like an N64 model was polished for the GameCube, and John Wick looks on the verge of bowling sometimes. Overall, the episode is not very appealing to look at and has a sort of Season 1 quality to it. That being said, it is very charming at the same time. The episode makes up for it with quality elsewhere. But I'm also not too big on John Wick's voice. Now, Stephen Kelly's James Bond isn't amazing to me or anything, and doesn't sound like any specific Bond, at least to my ears, but with how nebulous Bond can be, it's fine enough. Though English accent does seem to tarry more in line with Craig, which is what this model is. Despite the analysis clearly focusing on classic Bond more than Craig Bond, and classic Bond is Scottish. Meanwhile, Monal's John Wick isn't bad at all, it just feels a bit too generic tough guy. He doesn't have the right sort of pausing inflection I expected. When you pay attention, it feels like during conversations, John Wick pauses to really take the time to consider everything he's saying, like he wants to make sure he doesn't want to give away unnecessary information. I don't get that vibe from this, it doesn't sound right. Again, it's not awful, but, you know, it could be worse. It's not like this episode is going, "Aye, you daft cunt, I'm gonna shoot you with a shotgun pistol." Oh boy, I'd really not like that, old buddy. But it's fine. Also, John Wick is just on his phone, and that's strangely a funny visual to me. What's he looking at? Well, I heard he was watching some funny videos. After a lengthy but welcome setup, we get the action. First thing I noticed was the sound of a crowd gasping in shock when nobody's there. Second thing, yeah, I don't really like this opening. The animation looks really bad and it's not charming to me here. The action is slow and janky and not in the, oh, they're not moving at light speed obviously, they're not Dragon Ball characters, why are you complaining it's slow? But in the, this is just slow and weird. The choreography is not there for me, it looks like Bond didn't even aim this punch, Wick smashes Bond with a chair and Bond's body recoils in the wrong direction. Bond's eyes aren't moving and he looks like a mannequin both in expression and stiffness as he jumps over this ledge. And it doesn't even remotely look like Wick hit him in the head with this fucking wood despite the sound. After this segment, however, the fight starts to get good, ignoring how horrifying Bond's hands are. In fact, Bond in general is kind of nightmare fuel sometimes with his strange sliding no-walk cycle and his giant shoulders or tiny legs. But Bond's cockiness playing off Wick's seriousness is nice. The exploding cigarette gun is pretty nice to see in action, and Wick not expecting it is good, even as he looks oddly heartbroken about the suit. We get the two shooting each other's bullets out of the air, which is cool. However, I want to say this was a massive missed opportunity. Imagine if, instead, Bond's bullet made contact and deflected Wick's, but then the bullet split apart like the shotgun bullet they talked about earlier, and bounced off Wick's bulletproof suit. It'd be a cool way to show Bond's gun is superior, but Wick's suit is tough enough to nullify the damage, and it'd be a great shot. The following melee struggle is kind of slow too, but in the way that I'd expect. It feels like an uncoordinated Wick going for a desperate few blows while Bond is off guard, ending with the epic suplex into spear, and Wick pulling Bond's exploding pen out of his pocket to attack him? That's cool. The whole pen fight is fun too, giving us a quirky Bond one-liner into explosion, and if you pay attention, the pen clicks 10 times. Huh? Maybe I missed something or the sound effects don't quite line up, but I only heard 10 clicks, and unless the pen bouncing on the ground somehow counted as the 11th necessary for the boom, very minor detail I'm aware, and not a big deal. Bond brings in the Aston Martin, and I love the setup for the ending. Bond's phone gets shot, leading to the Martin going ballistic everywhere, giving us a great setup for a knife fight between the two, while they're ducking behind pillars and under the Aston Martin's minigun fire, which is not janky at all, is very well choreographed, and lit in such a way that I don't even notice the poor models, and it's a really cool idea. Then we get a fucking really good shot. Wick pulls out his gun, giving us the POV barrel sequence Bond is famous for, and Bond shoots at the camera, causing blood to trickle down, with the next shot showing us that Bond shot Wick's fucking gun into his chest. Like, Bond shot through the barrel of Wick's gun, out the back of it into Wick's chest, and then he shoots Wick 2 more times and Wick powers through, which goes hard. It's weird though how his bullets can just get through and out for that Gatling gun fire, can't though? Bond just holding out for his car's fire to hit Wick in the back, knowing he's safe and protected by Wick's body so he can kick him back and drop a chandelier on him, is a really cool kill as well. Wick's phone dying after himself is kind of sad, given the image of his wife that motivates him as the phone's background, but it works. While I do think this episode is really solid, there are definitely a few grievances I have left, but they go hand in hand with positives, because it's about how the episode's animation conveys the conclusion. In some ways, it's very good. They bring up that Bond is a Faza quick draw, which can be seen in the POV sequence. Wick has his gun set up to fire, but Bond gets up, turns around, and shoots through Wick's gun before Wick can even fire a shot. Which seems to go with the thought that Bond was really serious at this point and not goofing off in any way like he sort of was earlier. They say Wick wouldn't see the exploding pen coming, which he didn't, at least not the exploding part, and he didn't see the cigarette or car coming either. But they do mention, however, that they wouldn't see the laser coming. Bond uses that laser twice in the fight, and Wick is completely okay the first time and avoids it pretty casually, and the second time it did something that any of Bond's weapons could have. Personally, I feel like a good way it could have been used to show off how unexpected it is either having it work at the start, or to represent it's a fucking laser and faster than anything Wick has seen. Instead of Wick just sitting there on the Aston Martin and letting himself die, which is very un-Wick-like, having Bond shoot down the chandelier with a bullet and then shoot Bond with the watch to stun him long enough for it to hit him would work. Because as it is, Wick just letting himself die when he could have easily dodged is weird. Yes, Wick was brutally injured, but he didn't gain any more injuries after these shots. He got shot 3 times through the chest and still rammed Bond and held him in place. But now, just getting shoved back and hit by bullets that didn't pierce his suit is enough to put him over the edge. It's just weird for someone as tenacious as Wick to just allow himself to die. Not to mention, Bond's pun was weak, and Q groaning about it and telling Bond to grow up doesn't make much sense when he doesn't know what happened. Hell, he's calling to ask what happened. Or did he assume that when Bond said smashing, it was a pun on Bond seducing Wick into gay sex? Because that's completely reasonable. Again, the weird death doesn't take much away, but it is strange how Wick just takes it. Though shout out to him powering through the pain and the way the audio gets muffled as he gets shot, it adds atmosphere. Hell, the music and sound design were overall really good. Nothing stood out as having an inappropriate amount of impact, and the music really fit Bond. But not really Wick. In fact, about the episode feeling Bond-focused, it does a bit, yeah. His movies get name-dropped even in Wick's analysis. He shows off much more personality, as is to be expected. And I feel like all the scenes to the animation that I really loved were all Bond-focused ones. I can't think of scenes with Wick that were dedicated to him that I thought were really great, other than the suplex and a spear and Wick powering through the bullets. Like, Wick didn't even have many standout moments to me. Even outside of the Death Battle, Bond has the Deska Death Battle and Death Battle cast episodes too. Of course, that much I understand, Bond has way more to talk about and focus on with those two shows, and Bond's personality and arsenal, I understand, are way more out there than Wick, so naturally they'd outshine him in a fight. I just kind of feel like having more Wick scenes would have been cool. In my reaction to the episode, the idea came up of Bond using his invisibility suit and then jumping out to attack Wick, only to find Wick has vanished. Meanwhile, Wick saw Bond activate the suit and did his own stealth thing to show up behind Bond and attack the Invisible Man with perfect aim. That'd go hard and really go to show off how Wick can fight against impossible odds. Again, with all that said, it's a really good episode. I enjoyed it thoroughly, enough to overcome my one major problem and my many minor ones. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the season so far, at least top 5 and maybe top 3. It's a really cool episode and I hope we get more like it in the future. Really grounded episodes that don't have to be cave shit related. It and John Yaocha featuring Boba Fett did something for my hand-to-hand blender jank issues. I guess I feel like hand-to-hand isn't their strong suit still, but they're good at animating melee weapons. Like, when they do melee weapons, it's great. Link vs. Cloud, Harley Quinn vs. Jinx, Boba Fett vs. John Yaocha, and James Bond vs. John Wick, they're all good to show that weapon combat they're really good at. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get an episode where the raw hand-to-hand combat gets good too. And hey, this is an improvement. Actually, but we'll just have to see when we get there, won't we? Next time we're getting Black Adam featuring Apocalypse, a generic, boring cave shit match that some people have decided to make into a massive fucking meme. I'm interested for Black Adam. I mean, he's really good and really well-written villain. Well, Apocalypse, he's alright too. I mean, he's not the worst.
And that brings us to the end of another glorious review, ladies and gentlemen. This is actually the first time I've done one of these since Death Battle's come back. Or I guess the first time there's been a Death Battle since I've done one of these sort of end things, which is kind of neat. So yeah, what do you guys think of the episode? Did you guys enjoy it as much as I did? Did you not like it for whatever reason? You know, go ahead and tell me what you thought in the comments. I don't mind. I like to see people's opinions and stuff. Of course, please try to be civil and respect each other's opinions. And I hope you would respect mine as much as I respect yours. I mean, I do have purple hair though, so I guess I do matter more. No, that's a joke. I feel like I need to explain that with how the community can be sometimes. That was a joke. Hair color does not determine quality. I mean, unless you mean like in terms of, you know, best girl traits. But anyway, I guess here is where I would start to read off the things that the server has told me to read out. So let's do more of this stuff that I regret.
Watch it there, pal. Last dude to call me gay got his dick sucked.
Are you part of the Family Guy community? I am. I ship Peter-kun and Joe Senpai.
Hello, my name is Dennis Bloodripe, but you can call me name of this video is sponsored by Los Poros Hermanos family. I don't know what that means. I probably said something really stupid and I don't know. Piss off, I'm trying to slate! I don't know why I did it in accent. That could just be like something that would just be something I'd normally say, honestly. Probably something like pronounced like that.
Good. Twice the pride, double the fall.
Whatever this says. Hey guys, did you know in terms of male human and... Jesus fucking Christ. Why am I doing this in my non-animation rewind voice? So one of us got... Hey guys, did you know in terms of male human and female Pokemon breeding, Vaporeon is the most... I don't think I can legally put this on YouTube. Nostalgia critic. I don't even know what part of that is funny. What part of that is funny? It's just a name! Nostalgia critic do be my Keenoo though. Alright, that's it. That's enough. Bye. I'll see you again for Black Adam vs. Apocalypse. Why are you still watching?
Is not one to be taken lightly. Be careful, 007.